My name is Ashley. At 27, I pushed open the front door and was immediately hit by the sharp, chemical tang of fresh paint, even before I had set my bag down. My shoes were still soaked from the rain outside, and my arms ached after a grueling 12-hour shift at the diner. But the moment I stepped in, every bit of exhaustion vanished, replaced by a jolt of disbelief. Two men in overalls were standing in my bedroom, rollers gliding up and down the walls I had painted peach just months before. My floral curtains lay crumpled on the floor, dotted with splatters of white paint. The dresser I had spent weekends sanding and refinishing now sat shoved in the center of the room, streaked with wet paint. I froze, my breath caught in my throat. What is going on? Sylvie leaned casually against the doorway, arms crossed, lips curved into that familiar, self-satisfied smile. The one she always wore when she thought she was clever. "Oh, Ashley," she said lightly. "You're home early. We're just doing a little renovation before we move in. Thought it'd be a nice surprise." Her tone was casual, like she was commenting on the weather, as if she had every right to decide how these walls looked. The younger painter paused mid-stroke and gave me a hesitant look, but Sylvie didn't flinch. My legs felt unsteady beneath me. This house had been my dream, my reward for years of overtime and scrimping. It was mine. And here she was, treating it like it belonged to her. I wanted to scream, demand answers, but only a strained whisper escaped. If you've ever felt betrayed by the people who should have supported you, let me know where you're watching from. Move in. Sylvie tilted her head, smug, certain. You'll see. It'll be better this way. The smell of wet paint swirled around me, tightening my chest, and I realized this was just the beginning. Those words, move in, clung to me like damp clothes. Standing in that ruined room, my mind wandered back to how I got here. For years, I lived paycheck to paycheck, starting before dawn at the diner on Lancaster Drive, a place where the neon sign never switched off and the smell of fryer oil lingered on your skin even after a shower. Every shift, I carefully scraped together tips, counted out coins from the register, and tucked whatever I could save into a hidden envelope in my closet. Student loans came first, then rent on a tiny apartment with a leaky ceiling and paper-thin walls. Utilities, groceries, the bus pass, every month felt like slowly bleeding out. But I learned to stretch $1 until it nearly broke. Nights off weren't for rest, they were for side gigs. Bussing tables at catered events, scrubbing kitchens, babysitting whenever I could. Sometimes it felt pointless, yet I persisted. Friends bought new clothes, I patched mine. Coworkers ordered takeout. I packed leftovers in reused containers. Every sacrifice had a goal. Then, on my 26th birthday, I signed the papers for a weathered bungalow on the north side of Salem. 2 bedrooms, a small yard, peeling paint. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Every dollar I had fought to save had gone into it. I remember standing in the empty living room, listening to the silence, realizing I had finally bought a freedom no one could take away. Or so I thought. Now, with Sylvie's voice echoing through the hall, that freedom felt like it was slipping through my fingers. After that first shock, she began appearing more often, never calling ahead, just sliding into my weekends as if she owned the place. At first, she brought coffee or groceries, presenting herself as thoughtful, but every conversation turned sharp. "You're what? 27, she said one Saturday, eyeing the half-painted trim. "Too young to handle all this. Houses aren't like apartments. They devour money. You don't even know what you're getting into." I swallowed the words I wanted to throw at her. That I had worked every hour for this. That I had counted pennies and walked home in the rain to save bus fare. Instead, I found myself staring at the chipped paint on my brush, wondering if maybe she was right. Other times, she circled my job. "Still at that diner, honey? How long can you keep that up? What if you get sick? What if something happens?" Her words made my hands clench, because I had asked myself the same questions in the quiet hours, lying awake under the hum of the refrigerator. Then Daniel, her husband, stepped in. He didn't bother with soft tones. "This place would run better if we helped manage it. You've never owned property before. Mistakes cost money. We could save you from that." I laughed nervously, but inside my chest sank. Their visits left me drained, doubting decisions I'd been proud of just days before. Was the mortgage too much? Was the roof worse than I thought? Was I selfish for wanting to do this alone? By the time they left, I no longer felt like the owner of my house. I felt like a tenant seeking approval. When Sylvie slipped her hand into mine at the door, pretending warmth, I couldn't tell if it was comfort or control. One Friday, I came home late from the diner, my hands raw from scrubbing pans. The couch had been moved, angled toward the window instead of the TV. My cookbook sat neatly on the coffee table, as though someone had staged them. My first thought, I was just too tired to remember moving them. The next morning, the kitchen revealed the truth. Spices reorganized, labels facing forward. Pots shoved into higher cabinets. Even my coffee mugs, each chipped, each precious, stacked wrong. The faint scent of Sylvie's perfume lingered, the one she wore when she wanted to seem perfect. The realization hit. She had been inside without me. I checked the doors, nothing forced. Then it clicked. 2 weeks ago, she had asked to grab something from her car, borrowing my keys. She must have made a copy. When she came by the next weekend, all smiles, "You really should let me help keep this place organized. It's too much for you alone." She wandered into the kitchen, picked up my phone, and said she needed to check something for a recipe. She tapped and swiped longer than necessary, laughing when I asked what she was doing. "Don't be paranoid, Ashley. You're so uptight about your things." After that, my home never felt secure. Every corner I turned made me wonder what else she had touched, what else she intended to rearrange. I wanted my keys back, not just to lock her out, but to reclaim the life I had built for myself. If you're intrigued by stories like mine and want to hear more, make sure to subscribe to my channel so you never miss a video. It was my home, not hers, but just thinking about how she might react made my stomach knot. Instead, I locked the door behind her and lingered in the hallway, staring at the keyring in my hand, aware it wasn't the only set anymore. Once I discovered the truth about the keys, I couldn't fully trust my own memory. Every morning before heading to work, I started taking photos with my phone. The way the couch was angled, where the coffee mug sat, how my shoes lined up by the door. Each night, I compared the pictures to what I actually found when I got home. Some days, nothing had changed. Other days, a book would disappear from the shelf or the curtains would be tied differently. I wrote everything down in a small spiral notebook hidden under my mattress. Somehow, the act gave me a strange sense of calm. If Sylvia wanted to rearrange my life, at least I'd keep a record of the original. One evening, after a long double shift, I confided in Rosa, the server I'd worked alongside for years. We were wiping down counters when I finally said it. "My sister's in my house when I'm not there." She copied my keys. Rosa's eyes narrowed. "Ashley, that's more than family drama. That's trespassing. You need someone on your side." I shrugged, embarrassed. Who would believe me? It was her word against mine. But Rosa didn't shrug. The next day, she wrote a name and number on a napkin. Whitaker, housing lawyer in Portland. My cousin used him when her landlord tried something shady. Call him. I slipped the napkin into my pocket, turning it over between my fingers, all shift. Involving a lawyer made my stomach twist, but it also felt like a door I hadn't realized I could open. That night, Rosa surprised me again. She handed me a small brass keychain, the kind you find at gas stations. Etched on it one word, boundaries. "Put your house key on that," she said. "Every time you use it, you'll remember whose lock it really is." The weight of the brass in my palm felt heavier than its size. I clipped my key onto it and slipped it into my pocket, holding it like it could anchor me against the storm I knew was coming. It was a gray Sunday afternoon when the storm arrived. The pounding at my door made my chest tighten. I opened it to find Sylvia on the porch, 2 duffel bags at her feet, her kids fidgeting behind her. Daniel stood at the bottom of the steps, arms folded like a guard. "We need to move in," Sylvia announced, brushing past me as if the decision were already made. "The landlord gave us 3 days to leave. We've got nowhere else." I stepped in front of her. "This is my house. You can't just show up and decide you live here." Her smile faltered, replaced by the edge I knew too well. "Ashley, don't be selfish. We're family. You have 2 bedrooms, and the kids need a roof over their heads. Are you really going to turn them away?" The children shifted uneasily, sensing tension they didn't understand. My chest tightened, but I held my ground. I'm not turning them away. I'm saying you can't move in here. There are other options. You can find another place. Ask Daniel's family. Anything but here. Sylvia's voice rose loud enough for the neighbors to hear. Listen to her. After all I've done for you, after everything our family's been through, she slams the door on her own sister. Across the street, Mrs. Ramirez peeked through her curtains, and two men walking their dogs slowed their steps. My face burned, but I met Sylvia's glare. You've crossed too many lines already, I said. This is my home. I won't let you take it. For the first time, her eyes flickered with something other than confident surprise, maybe fear that her act wasn't working. She grabbed one of the bags, motioning sharply for Daniel and the kids to follow. This isn't over, she hissed, low and meant for me alone. Then she turned and marched down the steps, her words echoing long after their car disappeared down the street. Inside, I pressed my back against the door, heart racing. Refusing her once meant she'd only come back stronger. The next confrontation didn't happen on my porch. It came 2 days later, in the form of folded papers shoved into my hands as Sylvia showed up, smug and calm. Look, she said sweetly, I just want to clear things up. I unfolded the papers. Screenshots of text messages stared back at me, each stamped with my number. Come live with me, Sylvie. The house is too big for one person. Bring the kids. We'll figure it out together. My throat went dry. These weren't mine. She tilted her head, pitying. You must have forgotten. You've been stressed from all those shifts. People slip sometimes. Then came another stack. Receipts for a bedroom set, a television, even kitchenware. Each purchase linked to my bank account, the one I thought only I could access. You're welcome, she said. I made improvements for us all. A thorn lodged in my chest. After she left, I sat at my kitchen table staring at the life I hadn't chosen. Had I been careless with my phone? Had she guessed my password? The more I thought, the blurrier the line between memory and what I might have missed. Rumors drifted back from neighbors and co-workers. Mrs. Ramirez asked if I was all right, mentioning Sylvia claimed I was forgetting things. At the diner, a busboy joked about me leaving my apron behind twice. By the end of the week, I found myself checking my notebook just to confirm the truth. For the first time, I wondered if maybe she was right, if I was losing track of more than I realized. But when I held the brass keychain Rosa had given me, cool and solid, I knew doubt wouldn't be my final answer. I carried the forged texts and receipts to Portland, hands trembling, sliding them across the desk to Mr. Whitaker. He was calm, gray-haired, the kind of man who spoke after weighing every word. These messages aren't real, he said, tapping one with his pen. Metadata doesn't lie. They're app-generated. If she presents these in court, we can dismantle them. A small relief eased the knot in my chest, but only slightly. She's already spreading stories that I'm unstable. People believe her. That's why you need more than your word. Document everything, photos, dates, times, witnesses, neighbors who saw the porch argument, co-workers who can vouch for you. It all matters. I nodded, gripping my notebook tighter. One more thing. Change your locks immediately. Every door, every entry. Don't wait. That night, sleep eluded me as I imagined Sylvia slipping in with her copy. At dawn, headlights swept my yard. Mark, Rosa's brother-in-law, stepped out with a toolbox and worked quickly, replacing every lock. When he pressed the new brass keys into my hand, their edges sharp and cool, I felt control return. You'll want 3 sets, he said. One for you, one backup, and one with someone you trust. I clipped one onto the keychain Rosa had given me. Boundaries gleamed in the morning light. For the first time in weeks, my home felt like mine again. But storms don't disappear just because the windows are latched. At 6 the next morning, fists rattled the front door. I opened it to find 2 officers on the porch. Sylvia stood behind them, folder clutched tight. Ms. Hale, one officer said, we received a complaint. Your sister claims you're holding her belongings and denying her access. Sylvia stepped forward, opening the folder. I invited us to live here. I have the text. She just forgets. My hand shook, but I spoke firmly. Those are fake. This house is mine. I never gave permission. I handed the officers my folder. The deed in my name, photos of moved furniture, my notebook full of dates and details. When headlights crossed the yard, Mr. Whitaker appeared, briefcase in hand. Calmly, he reviewed Sylvia's printouts. This is fabricated, he said. Metadata shows it's generated by a third-party app. If this goes further, the forgery itself could be prosecuted. The officer stiffened. Do you want these items removed under supervision? One asked. Yes, I said, steadier than I expected. For the next hour, Sylvia and Daniel carried out their belongings under the officer's watch. When the patrol car finally drove away, silence settled, heavy and clean. I stood by the window, brass key warm in my hand, knowing the fight wasn't over. But for now, I had won. The next week, with Mr. Whitaker's help, I filed a restraining order. Exhausting, yes, but I signed every page with steady hands. At night, Mark returned to install cameras by the front and back doors. Watching the screens glow on my phone gave me a quiet comfort. My home was no longer open ground, it was mine to defend. Rosa came by with bags of soil, and we planted daisies and lavender along the walkway. Kneeling in the dirt, pressing roots into the earth, I felt something loosen inside me. This was my line, drawn in petals and stems, a reminder that beauty can grow even after intrusion. When the garden was done, I hung the brass keychain on a nail in the kitchen. Boundaries gleamed against the paint. I stood for a long moment, remembering how small and fragile I had felt when Sylvia first crossed the threshold. At 27, I understood that independence isn't guaranteed by a deed or locks. It's a choice you defend again and again. Fragile, yes, but still mine. If you found this story inspiring, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more tales of resilience and taking back your life.